Hi, and welcome to The Green Consumer. I'm Emily, and this is the first official video I'm doing for The Green Consumer. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be looking into plastic water bottles today and look at their impact on the planet and its people. I'm going to be doing an ethical, environmental, economic, and health impact analysis of plastic water bottles so that we can better understand their effects on the planet and us from a consumer standpoint. Okay, so let's start with the environmental aspect of plastic water bottles. So just from a numbers perspective, every year 400 billion plastic water bottles are used. That is equivalent to 1 million plastic water bottles being used every single minute, or 20,000 being used every single second. So at this point in the video, over 1 million plastic water bottles have been used. From the time that this video started to now, over 1 million. It's hard to even visualize. What's more is that 17 million barrels of oil are used every single year to produce the plastic for plastic water bottles. That's equivalent to about 714 million gallons of oil. Oil is, of course, a fossil fuel, which means every time we extract it from the earth or use it, we are getting closer to the permanent depletion of its natural stock in our earth. Based on current oil reserves and our rate of oil usage, there are estimates that we only have 47 more years left of oil left in the earth to sustain the rate at which we are currently using it. So what that means is within our lifetimes, our own lifetimes, we could see our oil reserves completely dry up. In terms of resource usage for plastic water bottles, every time you drink one plastic water bottle, it's as if you drank 4 because it takes 3 plastic water bottles worth of water to produce that one bottle that you get to drink. From my personal perspective, I think that's very wasteful and hard to justify, especially when you consider the amount of people who don't have access to clean and safe drinking water in this world. Here we are in our consumerist and convenience-driven culture, and we are just being so wasteful by drinking essentially 4, but only getting 1 water bottle's worth of water. Okay, so say we do decide to drink water from a plastic water bottle. What happens after we're done with that plastic water bottle? Where does it go? Sure, we can recycle it, but that doesn't take away the problem of where it goes. It's not out of sight, out of mind. That does not apply here. Plastic water bottles take 500 years to biodegrade, which means to be decomposed or broken down by living organisms and bacteria. So what that means is 16 generations from now, the plastic water bottles that we're using today will finally return to Earth completely. So in terms of visualizing that would be our great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren will be the ones who finally get to see the plastic water bottles that we use today return to Earth. Okay, so if that's not a compelling enough argument for you or somebody you know to stop drinking water from plastic water bottles, let's consider the ethical side of things. The biggest issue being that a traditionally public good has been privatized. Plastic water bottle companies are making incredibly large profits. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry simply by drawing water from public sources, putting it in single-use plastic bottles, and then reselling it to consumers at over 2,000 times the prices of tap water. Let's just imagine what some of those profits could do in order to help improve accessibility and quality of public drinking water, especially since clean drinking water is a basic human right. Another issue that we have to consider on the ethical side is where these companies are sourcing their water from. They are not legally required to disclose that information, so it's not something that these companies report every year or every month or every quarter where they're getting their water from. This is especially troubling when you think about the fact that they could be, and have been proven to be in some cases, drawing water from places like drought-ridden California. In one of the other videos in this series, I am going to look into a few plastic water bottle companies and just analyze them and their environmental and ethical impacts. So the case against plastic water bottles just keeps getting worse. Let's now look at the health aspect of plastic water bottles. First and foremost, bottled water is not safer than drinking water from your tap in the United States. Yes, there are exceptions to that to be mindful of, but generally speaking, it is not. Plus, there are a slew of other factors that we have to consider before we ever put that plastic water bottle to our lips and drink that water. First of all, while most single-use plastic water bottles do not contain BPA, which is a harmful chemical to human health that is found in things like hard plastic water bottles, among other items, they do contain similar estrogen-like compounds that are still unidentified and could have equally as harmful effects on human health as BPA. Estrogen is, of course, the primary female sex hormone. So, a few years ago, some researchers from Goethe University in Frankfurt, Germany, decided to do a study in order to analyze chemicals found in plastic and glass bottled water. They analyzed 20 different brands, like I said, of bottled water in both plastic and glass, and what they found was 78% of the bottled water in plastic contained endocrine disruptors, whereas 33% of the bottled water in glass contained them. Endocrine disruptors disrupt our hormone levels, and they're responsible for causing cancerous tumors, birth defects, and other developmental disorders in humans. Also, if you are like me and were wondering about that 33% of endocrine disruptors found in glass bottles, Patricia Hunt, who's a geneticist and reproductive biologist at Washington State University, explained that these likely came from things like birth control pills, hormone therapy medications, and a host of other contaminants that we don't yet have a means to affordably filter out of our water supply. In my opinion, that's pretty scary because regardless of where you're getting your water from, due to the pollutants that we have put into this earth, our supply is tainted and we are experiencing the adverse health effects of that. Another health consideration that we have to make is that of the health of our oceans being directly tied to the health of us. I could have included this in the environmental portion of this video, but I'm including it here because it relates to both the environment and health, as a lot of these issues are intertwined. So this is kind of a double whammy in terms of the impact of plastic water bottles. So 70% of our oxygen comes from phytoplankton, which are marine plants. So 70% of the air that we breathe is coming from the ocean. So we have to also now think about the enormous amount of plastic that we dump into the ocean every single year. And that plastic is at one point or another being inadvertently consumed by marine creatures and making its way into our own human food chain. So every time we sit down to eat a nice seafood meal, we are likely also ingesting plastic because the seafood that we're consuming has ingested plastic at one point of its life. So if none of those previous arguments resonated with you and made you want to stop drinking water from plastic water bottles, let's finally do an economic analysis of plastic water bottles. The biggest thing that we have to consider is the fact that we are paying for something that we have access to, in most cases, for free. Multi-billion-dollar companies like Pepsi and Coca-Cola are profiting a lot of money from plastic water bottles. To be more specific, the plastic water bottle industry in 2019 was valued at nearly $160 billion. That number is now set to be $250 billion in just 5 years by 2025. So what that means is these companies are profiting all of this money while you and I are essentially wasting money on plastic water bottles when we have access to alternatives that will save us money and help the planet and help our own health. To do a true cost analysis, it is good for us to understand that a gallon of tap water averages out to less than a penny per gallon. On the other hand, a 16.9 ounce plastic water bottle costs on average $1.45 every time you buy just one. That's also just the average price if you are buying them by the case, whatever, that's what it works out to be. And that's for a 1/13 of a gallon of water. So think about the comparison between the two. A household can easily spend over $100 on plastic water bottles every single year. Luckily, there are alternatives available to us as consumers, and there's an abundance of them, and they fit any budget, and they fit, any lifestyle too. I think that we have a responsibility as consumers to vote with our dollar. Just because the bottled water industry is set to increase to $250 billion in 5 years, if we start acting collectively and decreasing the amount of times we are buying plastic water bottles, we can change that. We all have a stake in the future of our planet, in the future of our own health, and in the future of our economic health and prosperity as well. I think as consumers, we should have these facts so we can contribute to what we believe in and what we want to contribute to. So I hope this video gave you something to think about and will make you think twice before you go to drink plastic bottled water in the future. My next video is going to be dedicated solely to providing alternatives to plastic bottled water because there are so many, so I think it's important to break those down. And also, I linked below this video a fact sheet in PDF form that breaks down some of the facts that I talked about throughout the video. This can help you with easier visualization of what I talked about, especially if you want to share some of this information with those around you. It saves you the time and effort of having to scroll through and look for some of the facts because it is all compiled right there for you. If you enjoyed this video, you can give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel, The Green Consumer, and I look forward to seeing you at my next video. Thanks for watching.